How do you applaud?
Like that.
Really?
Yeah. I like to make it loud. I like to make it clap.
What that thing do?
Yeah. What did that thing do? It clap. Love podcasts, hate nonsense is the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Speaking of nonsense,
Let's talk about the Green Party, ladies and gentlemen.
you have to be specific about which Green Party, I think.
Well, you just want to go straight in? You want to go straight in with Greens being nonsense?
I think we really soon need to clarify. Which
I'm
party
going
we're
to.
about.
I will talk about. I will make it clear what I'm talking about. But
Okay.
I just no small talk, no patter, no
This is
amble. We are straight in.
When we are about to have a conversation that we're about to have,
Yeah.
you know how the podcast stands against nonsense.
Yeah.
And I think it's like we're like honing towards it. I don't care how your evening was.
You never do.
No, literally never.
You never ask me how I am.
Yeah, no. We barely speak of this.
Yes, indeed.
We're
This is the only time Ed and I speak to each other. There's actually a feud. There's a split.
Hall and Oates.
Should we swap places? Because this is your.
I did wonder.
This is your. This is where I sit when I talk to Ava. But I don't think you and I have done it. Have we? Has this dynamic existed before?
You and I just in pod? It definitely has.
It has.
That was Ava left that. We must have done. Ava's going on holiday. I think.
Today?
No, in general.
Yeah, no, she has been on holiday, yeah.
So there must have been.
Yeah, there will have
No,
been.
there's good. We've done like Dudes Rock.
Dudes
podcast.
Rock.
Yeah, that's what.
And we're leaning into that now.
Absolutely.
Would you like to swap?
I'm fine.
Yeah?
I'm curious to see what the new dynamic does. The audience don't usually see this side of my face.
It's libelling the Green Party. That's the new dynamic. That's the new dynamic. Okay, fine. Right, so the Greens launched their election campaign this week. The UK Greens.
Yes.
Great to hear from their co-leader, Carla Denier. A shame not to hear from her daughter's vaccine and climate. No, Carla Denier. And Ramsey, and her co-leader, they're announcing their big push, and they're talking about all sorts of things. Obviously, their aspiration to return 4 MPs to Parliament, their pledges on obviously the environment, but also Gaza and housing as well. They're very keen to shake the housing NIMBY label, which I mean we can get into if you want, but. It's for me, it's all well and good. Look at revealed preferences, right? You can tell me that you care about the housing crisis, but as long as your councillors oppose, for example, the building of 360 homes in Harrow because you want to preserve the car park of a leisure centre, I won't take your words at face value.
That leisure centre is one of England's most beautiful spots.
I can't tell if you're being serious. No, you're not.
No, I'm not. Well, after all the pollution that's been done to the countryside,
No, I didn't.
Leisure centre is actually a place of outstanding natural beauty.
Yeah, look, I obviously don't. There are clearly conversations to be had around, amenities and municipal services and the balance between housing and those things. Don't get me wrong, but there's a multiplicity of examples of that sort of thing. So that they launched their campaign, very interesting, and I think we'll probably talk more about how the electoral viability of the Greens increases the louder and more consistent Labour's fatwa on left-wingers becomes. But, Edward, we must discuss, and we, because it's now been several minutes since I said the thing that I just said, so we do have to talk about it. Okay, so clearly, right, there's different political parties. There are they're separate institutions, and in the UK you have the UK Greens, and elsewhere, for example, in Europe, there's the French Green Party, there's the German Green Party. However, it's better, or I often find it's not the same as saying, oh, there's a Conservative Party in Britain and there's a small c Conservative Party in France. They are part of the same tradition. It's not the same. Within the Green movement, it genuinely is kind of a pan-European political movement, political grouping, because it was, well, because of its history, because it was on the fringes and its sort of evolution into electoral politics. So whilst we can separate these individual wings, we do have to engage with the Greens also at a kind of system-wide level. I do anyway. And so, Edward, when I tell you about the German Greens for a period of time in the 80s, standing on a platform for legalizing sex with children, that's what I mean when I say they're nonces. That's what I'm getting at. Now, obviously, and I'm sure every single Green Party affiliated politician would strenuously deny any association with that policy platform. Rightly so.
Oppose it.
Yes, I think they would oppose it in quite strong terms. I'll pull up the guy. I forgot. It's Cohn. It's Cohn. So there's this politician in the European Parliament who flipped between the French and German Green parties. So alternate terms, he would be a French Green MP and he would be German MEP. So this is what I'm getting at when I say that it's a pan movement. It's not just there's one party and they're separate things. And he wrote a book and in it sort of detailed erotic experiences in kindergartens. And for a while, the Greens were affiliated with this group they were known as the Schwappies, who were essentially a group that advocated for the legalized sex with children. The kind of underpinning of it, and actually this guy, Cohn-Bendit, or Bondi, I'm assuming when I'm a German MEP, it's Cohn. When I'm a French MEP, it's Bondi. And he, speaking about it, was basically like, no, when I said that the kids undid my flies and sometimes stroked me, and that's a quote, that's a quote. He was like, that never actually happened. It was about a revolutionary challenge to the bourgeois structures by sexual emancipation of children, which for me is a very powerful case of brainworms.
Absolutely. I think, when you hear something and something like that, I think maybe I'm a bourgeois reactionary. Maybe that's not chill or cool.
Yeah.
Or like when you hear about French film directors making films about like actual, sexual violence in it. I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm a bourgeois prude. Maybe less of that.
Yeah. Maybe your bourgeois sensibilities are...
How will that go down in Brighton Pavilion? I'd be...
Well, no, okay. Look, we should be clear. we should be clear. I think it would probably be it would certainly be unfair to fully tarnish the
That's
UK.
Underselling it.
The UK Greens.
it would be totally unfair.
With that history. But no, I if you're talking at more of a, like I said, broader theoretical level, I think it's fair to make that challenge to the Green movement. They've had some pretty fucking nuts ideas associated with them. I would say also it's been deeply unfair of me to open our conversation.
Do you think there's going to be
about their their election campaign launch with reference to one of the fucking freaks in their movement in the 80s? But I'm just saying, when you talk about the Greens and someone goes, well, they're nonsense, that's where it comes from.
I'd like to say hello to the Green Party volunteer worker tasked with, PoliticsJOE talking about the Green Party's launch. That's cool, great. I'd love to hear their thoughts on our kind of progressive ideas, like what we can do to really change the country and their expectations are. Oh, they've called us nonsense. Oh, fuck.
Straight off the bat. Straight off the bat. No, look, I think
they're saying your child, let's go claim it.
I don't know if Carla Dania has kids. So whether they would take issue with the fact they've said she has 2 daughters, she doesn't have any, or whether they go, he said one of her daughters is called Vaccine. He's just making it up as he goes along. Do you remember when we went to that vaccine festival?
Yes, that was bleak. That was when
real COVID content making.
That was when it was just Oli and I.
Yeah.
At PoliticsJOE.
Dudes Rock.
It was Dudes Rock.
Look at the start of this podcast.
Absolutely.
It's fucking Dudes Rock.
And we went to this in Tower Hamlets Borough Council organised a vaccine festival with music, where the idea was you'd go and you'd be able to get a vaccine there because I think they had quite a really low uptake within the borough of vaccines, and it was so dead.
There was no one there.
And one of the acts that was performing is an anti-vaxxer. We looked him up afterwards, and it's like one of his songs was like, "Don't get the vaccine." He didn't perform it there, to be fair. He knew his audience.
Yeah, he did.
He sang that song about the ghost train.
Yeah, that was a banger.
That was a banger.
I liked Ghost Train.
I liked Ghost Train as well. Didn't like that bit of content.
No,
to be perfectly honest.
No, I mean we were really just trying to make content.
Yeah,
for content's sake, perhaps.
I suggested,
unlike this podcast,
I suggested on the day, I was like, I don't think we need to stay and make a video about this. And you were, yes, we do. We're here. We've travelled here. Like, half an hour on public transport.
You just didn't want to get your luscious locks wet.
I was chucking it down that day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least it was muddy like a festival.
Yes, it had. And we spoke to the mayor of Tower Hamlets, the old one.
Was it not Lewisham? Were we in Tower Hamlets?
It was Tower Hamlets.
I swear we were in Lewisham.
No, it wasn't Lewisham. It was the.
I could have sworn we were in Lewisham.
It wasn't.
This isn't interesting to the audience.
That's not really discussion.
No. Well, I don't agree.
I think given what we spent talking about the Green Party, talking about their unfortunate history with paedophiles, we should probably be fair to them and discuss their their proposition for the general election.
Yeah, look, I think their pitch, clearly listening to their 2 leaders, there's a passing of the guard happening, right? Caroline Lucas standing down, Sean Berry going for the Brighton Pavilion seat. They're really pushing Thangham Debonair in the newly created constituency of Bristol Central, and interestingly, they're also pushing a Tory in North Herefordshire. Bill Wiggin, I think it is the Tory MP there, and their candidate, the Green Party candidate, is sort of a local who runs an organic farm in the constituency. And the messaging that was coming out of that campaign launch was very much, we will keep the Labour Party honest. Mm-hmm. That we will push the Labour Party to be a little bit braver, to be a little bit bolder, to sort of try and act as a magnet to draw it to the left wing. Now, there's a lot to unpack in that hypothetical, theoretical scenario, because, well, if the Labour Party wins the colossal majority that a lot of people are predicting it to do, then whether or not there are 4 Green MPs in Parliament is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah. Mrs. Denier. What do you want me to secure your vote?
Are we going to call her Denier?
Yeah, I think it's funny.
Okay.
Climate Denier.
That's her daughter, please, have some respect.
Ms. Denier, excuse me.
Yes, exactly. And, but nonetheless, it is significant if they were to, I mean, let's say they win those 3 I mentioned. Let's say I can't remember what the 4th one is now off the top of my head.
I've got it somewhere.
But if they quadruple the number of MPs they have, that is obviously
massive.
It's massive.
It's huge.
It's really significant. If you look at the polling among under 24s, the Greens poll about the same as Tories, Lib Dem, It's basically like Labour on 60, and then the other parties all have about 10% each. When you look at all people under 40 or 50, again, the Greens polling like pretty strongly, a pretty strong 10%. Now,
the Greens are more popular than the Tories for people under 40.
Yeah, I think they're the second party for people under 24. That's substantive. You know, that there's clearly a pretty significant electoral coalition there, and in a world where you have proportional representation, that vote would increase dramatically. But the reason a lot of people don't vote for them is because they go, well, there's no point, which I disagree with. By the way, I don't. This is going to sound like extreme copium. I don't view voting as futile if you don't back the winner. Like, I understand it's a contest. I understand that you're trying to get a candidate to beat another candidate. But I do not believe that, for example, if you are in a Labour safe seat and you vote for the Green Party, they're looking at those numbers.
Definitely.
They're understanding and tracking all the vote share across multiple elections and looking at the way that voting patterns are changing in their constituency, because obviously they have a vested interest in it. And actually, the calculation, and I'm aware that I've been talking quite extensively now, and I will shut up in a minute, that Keir Starmer's Labour Party is making is that essentially people who are progressive, people who have a left-wing political stance, will basically eat their fucking vegetables, shut up, have your medicine, take the cow poll, you little fucking infant socialist prick. You've got no one else to vote for, you'll vote for us. The strategy being they move to the right, they get pretty close to the Tories, and they plan to sweep up everyone who's behind them on the left wing. That strategy works as long as you go, yeah, delicious cow poll, num num num, thank you, Daddy.
Cow poll is delicious.
Yeah, it is good. I tell you what, fucking love that purple drank.
Let's do a lean podcast.
Oh, no, you're speaking my language. Election night, lean off.
Just comatose for just 3 hours of us dribbling.
And now we go to Eva Santina at the election battle screen. Like, you are a hostage to fortune at that point. If you just say yes, spank me, Daddy. Daddy Starmer will keep spanking you. You have to say no. My vote is not your birthright. My vote is not given to you. And if you treat me like this, if you don't offer me anything, I'm going to take it elsewhere. It's the only way. Yeah, it's a much more long-term, long game strategy, right? And you're not going to be voting for a party that wins an election. But within the context of first past the post, if enough people actually start voting for a party they agree with, rather than going, it's one of the strong arguments in my mind against tactical voting. You can exert some pressure on these people, and it's probably the way I'm more inclined to think about how I'll probably vote in this election.
I take issue with your metaphor of Starmer's going to keep spanking you.
What's wrong with that metaphor, Ed?
Because he's not giving
Think
you
about it.
Because
picture it.
No,
picture it in your head right now.
I'm picturing him. He's spanking my bare bottom.
Your bare butt, balls, and back.
But I think, well, my take issue with this, and it's kind of nitpicky, I'm being pedantic. He's not doing anything that you're asking for. You're saying spank me. And and he's saying no.
Yeah, no. He's so lame.
I'm going to read my paper, actually. You've got this is like he's got no libido and you are horny.
You're at an orgy. You're at an orgy. You might be tied to something, manacled in some way, and he's like in the corner watching Top Jaw videos. Like the man is sexless. I mixed my metaphors. Well, I don't know if it's an established metaphor. Starmer in the BDSM dungeon.
It is now.
Because you obviously, when I was saying "spank me, Daddy," usually someone who says that is because they want to be spanked. But what I meant more was he was hurting you.
Punishing.
He was punishing you. So
usually,
there's been a miscommunication.
Usually, beaten children aren't asking for it.
Yes. Well, obviously.
Exactly. So that's the point. You were victim blaming.
I'm not a fucking Green, Ed.
I think the interesting thing about the Green Party is because
The consecutive vowels in their name.
of the that's my problem.
That's the interesting thing about them.
Because they are so well, their target is 4 seats, and in the context of Labour landslide, it actually doesn't mean much at all. But at this point, they can be anything to all people. Anyone who has for any frustration with the Labour Party, unless you live in Scotland or Wales, there's not really another party to vote for. And even the Scottish Greens are actually much more radical than English Greens.
Yeah, separate party.
Yeah, they're a completely different party. And would you tarnish them with the same brush? What's your opinion on the Scottish Greens? Can we get to that?
Scottish nonsense. I'm going to get in trouble for this.
Oh, yeah, 100%. They're going to be so angry.
I'm going to get in trouble for this.
But
yeah,
so-
man. Sorry, go on.
Like, if you're frustrated with how Starmer is treating the Labour left, I think people would like to think, or Green people sympathetic to the Green Party would like to say, oh, you don't like how they've treated the socialist candidates, come to the Green Party. And yeah, that's an easy fix on the surface, but it's not like the Green Party are a radical socialist group. They're an environmental movement. That socialist left only still really exists on the left of the Labour Party, because such a broad tent. That is still the natural home for those people. They might not get the representation within the parliamentary Labour Party, but I think these people would find being a Green equally as frustrating.
Yeah, and I'm aware that we're really indulging in the world of hypotheticals here, so it is hard to say. But depending on how the electoral arithmetic works out, the relevance of 4 Green MPs has the potential to change massively, right? Mm-hmm. Because, for example, in a Labour minority government, those 4 Greens all of a sudden wield a huge amount of power. In a massive Labour landslide, less so. And it's hard to predict. We can say, John Curtis has repeatedly said, right, we can say with about 99% certainty now that Starmer will be the Prime Minister. Mm-hmm. But the scale and scope of the victory is the open question. Because Labour finds it very hard to win general elections. They find it's basically impossible for Labour to win general elections without a strong showing in Scotland. Now, at the moment, at present, it certainly looks like Labour's going to get a strong showing in Scotland. And the SNP are possibly going to lose some seats up there. But we don't know. A week is a long time in politics. Anything can happen. And typically over the course of general election campaigns, stuff happens. You know, you're already starting. The cracks are almost starting to show. Nigel Farage yesterday on Question Time said something funny, and he said, "This general election, this general election campaign is so boring that Lord Lucan is on the front page of the Daily Mail today."
Was that not just copium from the Mail?
Yeah.
Okay. there's no good news to put.
They've got nothing
they
can splash, but it's just early days, and they're running out. They're very quickly now running out of road of their like immediate grab. Okay, London Excel Centre, activists in a corner will make it look busy. They're running out of those things. They're pre-planned, immediate go-to events. You saw it yesterday, I think it was, with Sunak and that guy whose mum died during Partygate, mm-hmm. and that was just you saw a glimmer of interaction with the public, right? When the man at the biscuit factory turns out to actually be a man who works at the biscuit factory and not a Tory councillor,
yep.
The vibe starts to shift, and you see now. Admittedly, this isn't going to narrow the polls, but I'm talking about it in general. You saw Sunak do the well. Actually, I was working fucking hard to pay your shit cunt wages during the pandemic. And if I turn up early to a meeting and they ambush me with a cake, well, I'm sorry, but I did nothing wrong. Oh, wasn't that was probably when you first saw me on the TV during the pandemic or whatever. That's bad, right?
Real bad.
And there were moments, and Starmer will have them, 2010, Gillian Duffy, Gordon Brown saying that bigoted woman. big problem for him. There are moments. Do you remember that guy? Was it in Bristol? Get out of my pub!
Yeah, fucking hell. That's in the theme song to this, isn't it?
We've had it, yeah. I think it may still be, yeah.
Yeah. We don't hear it ever unless we're listening to the podcast, so that's why.
Showing how rarely we listen to the output. There will be more of that. And there'll be particularly more of that, I think, if the situation in Gaza continues to worsen. I think you will see some like very emotional confrontations. And that's... I think the Greens could also stand to benefit on foreign policy in that sense. I would never suggest that they were deploying that as a wedge issue. But their position on Gaza is more progressive, right, than the Labour Party's. Well, it's more progressive than Israel has the right, as Keir Starmer said in the immediate aftermath. So
when you said, talking about Scotland there, I think if you look to Scotland as it's the one place in the UK where the Greens have been in government, in the power sharing agreement with the SNP, and I actually think it's a warning to the English Greens in that they were a convenient scapegoat for the SNP.
Yeah.
They got blamed for all the policies like the gender recognition reform bill, the
recycling,
bottle
bank
return scheme.
Yeah,
the recycling return scheme, bottle return scheme. They were all in the SNP's manifesto, proved massively unpopular, and the SNP just flipped the blame onto the Greens and jettisoned them. So the Greens
worked out well for Hum's use of that.
Well, the SNP are still John Swinney's still in government.
Yeah,
I get, they have an easy. In fairness, they don't have that escape route anymore. They don't have that scapegoat. So I think the Greens could look to Scotland and be careful what they wish for. Like they've said, they haven't put themselves as an adversary to the Labour Party. Like we'll keep them honest. But if say there's a minority Labour government with a confidence and supply deal with the Green Party, something slightly unpopular gets jettisoned, and you've stuck the blame on Miss Denier.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's really interesting. I in the context of there potentially being this kind of alternate alt-left wing in Parliament, it'd be an interesting prospect. I don't think I'm super sceptical that it will happen, right?
So am I. Actually, so am I.
Whether it's the fact that it's just incredibly hard for any of them to win under first past the post. The possibility it would appear now that Labour is kind of backtracking on the Diane Abbott stuff. She may still be able to stand as a Labour MP. So you're basically just talking about like Corbyn and Galloway. Galloway could well lose.
Yeah. Because Galloway didn't win with a proper Labour candidate.
Yeah.
So an actual, like Paul was standing in Rochdale for Labour. That's an entirely different prospect.
Yeah. It is.
You wanted to know what the fourth seat was they were targeting?
I did.
Waveney Valley.
Yes.
Where is Waveney Valley?
Fuck knows.
If we've got any listeners in Waveney, we'd love to know where that is.
Should we just stick it in Google Maps?
No, I'm looking forward to reading the comments.
Okay. I won't tell you.
Waveney. I think it's in Newcastle. I shouldn't have said that. It's going to be so wrong. Ollie's looking it up for the listeners.
Just riff, Ed. Do your type 5.
What's the deal with COVID denier?
All right. Well, I know where it is.
Where is it?
I thought you said you didn't want me to tell you.
I was kind of joking.
East Anglia.
So I was wrong.
Yeah. In between Thetford and Norwich.
Oh. Have I been to Waveney?
No. Did you, for oldest?
That's North Walsham.
Same ballpark.
Yeah, I like that.
Fenland.
I like that part of the world. How many seats do you think Greens will win?
2.
I think 2 as well. Which ones?
Brighton Pavilion. Although apparently Brightonians are getting pissed off with the Greens.
Really?
Yeah. Bin shit going on. In a way,
That's
those four
that's what it comes down to.
those 4 words actually quite neatly sum up British politics.
Oh, absolutely. No, they definitely. Everyone's like, if the local council shit, you're going to blame the incumbents.
The Greens.
Yeah. I like as well people getting frustrated with why are Labour running in Brighton Pavilion?
Yeah.
Shouldn't they leave that to the Greens? No.
Yeah.
Is it an election?
Yeah. There's a really interesting story in South Devon where there's this group who tried to run they did run an open primary. And it's meant to be like a progressive thing. You have a hustings. The primary backs a candidate, and then all the
Yes.
activists, I think it's Tottenham, that participate, then go out and work as activists for the person that the primary backs. Which you might think sounds a bit small time and like what the hell. And Labour didn't participate in it, but the Greens and the Lib Dems did. And I think that about 1,000 people participated in the primary. If you have 1,000 people out door knocking for your electoral operation, that's fucking massive.
Mm-hmm.
Make a big difference. But it's why the Labour Party has like in all its rules and regulations, right? About you have to campaign for the Labour Party.
Yeah.
You can't participate. Your existence as a party is oppositional to the other ones. You're trying to beat them in elections, right? You can't be associated with them. You can't cooperate in that way. I mean, there's sort of like verbal non-aggression pacts and stuff like that they sometimes share in terms of campaigning. But yeah, so that was really interesting. I've forgotten why I went off on that weird tangent. Why are we talking about that?
I'm not sure.
Interesting bit of local democracy.
Oh, because we're talking about green bins.
Yeah. So I think Brighton possibly, and I actually think Herefordshire.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd say I'm going
just because it's the Tories that they're targeting, and I think the Tory vote share will collapse.
I'm going to go for Bristol Central, and we'll get another COVID denier.
Yeah.
In the House of Commons.
Yeah, it's really hard to quantify, but I suspect that you're going to get like a big Labour swell from like a national discourse, national politics perspective, and whether the students, because of the timing of the election for July 4th, whether the students are in Bristol or not. Some of them still will be. Some of them will have gone home. And obviously you can vote in either constituency you're registered in. And it will depend on the persuasion of the student, obviously. How much of a left-winger are you that you will cast your vote in Bristol so you can unseat Thangham Debonair from the Labour Party and get Carla in? Or if, I don't know, back home is like a Labour Tory marginal, and you're thinking, actually, no, I want to just fucking.
I think that's a much more convincing prospect.
Yeah.
Than your opposition to the Tories is presumably much greater than your opposition to Thangham Debonair, someone you actually quite likely not heard of.
It's not been a very dudes rock episode, Ed.
It's been quite heavy. Shall we discuss our specialist subject? We're 2 British journalists.
Oh, buddy.
We each have an undergraduate degree in politics, each from a Russell Group university.
I'm BSc, by the way.
I'm an MA.
Yes, you are.
Scottish Masters.
Yeah. Oh, right. It's not worth the paper,
It's what
it's written on,
what
is
the
it?
ancient universities of Scotland call undergrads.
It's not worth the paper it's written on, that, Ed.
It's free, anyway. And that's why we 2 guys, 2 degrees in politics. We're going to tell you what Trump's convictions means for America.
Like every other politics podcast in this country.
I've not been in America for 8 years.
You lived there, to be fair.
Yes, I lived there for 9 months.
You're more qualified than a lot of people.
I think I actually am, to be fair. I lived in America when Trump was first elected.
Was that 8 years? Fuck!
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Are you okay?
I just had one of those moments when you realise how old you are.
That was a real existential moment of dread.
Yeah. It's consuming me. I liked Trump. He described himself as a very innocent man.
As if innocence isn't like binary.
Yes. There's for him, it's actually a sliding scale.
I'm kind of innocent.
Yeah.
Very suggests of the 34 charges, he's like only guilty of 3.
Yeah, they got him on all of them.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Suck it up, buddy.
Eat your dinner.
It is kind of strange. Their justice is obviously different to ours. But
that's a level of insight about American politics you can expect.
No, do you know what? Actually, I did an hour of Trump on LBC once, and a fucking American political lecturer texted in and was like, "You know what you're talking about."
Oh, cool.
It was high praise indeed.
Absolutely.
I was very pleased with that. I was just talking about it having a federal system of government. It was very top line.
There's a balance of power, actually.
Checks and balances.
So justices in the Supreme Court, they serve for life.
Yeah. So I tell you, here's a bit of insight I'll give for you, Ed. Trump cannot pardon himself of these crimes because he's been convicted at the state level, and the president can only pardon federal level felonies.
And that's why he's going to run for the governor of New York State. You heard it here first.
Sorry, I didn't. Maybe I will throw it at you. No.
Oh! Sorry.
No.
I threw the beer mat that Ollie threw at me, and it's landed on the beam in the studio. Yay, we got it back.
Great. Yeah, so that's the interesting thing about this punishment, right? Because he's not going to go to prison.
Sentencing on the 11th of July.
Yeah. If he did go to prison, he'd miss the RNC, so that would be... Because he's still the presumptive candidate, right? They haven't actually anointed him, so that would be fun. But he won't go... It's like the lowest level felony. It's E rather than A being the harshest. So jail time would be very harsh with no previous criminal record. They'll probably fine him, but probation could be interesting because probation conditions can, for example, require you to stay within a certain jurisdiction.
Be the least mobile electoral campaign.
Yeah.
We do make it a feature.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said this before that if he did get like locked up, but was still able to like give press conferences from his prison cell, like he's winning that election.
It's not like any. Well, I don't know any other candidates, but most other presidential candidates, this would be, pretty bad. If Joe
It collapses his campaign.
This is like another thing.
Joe Biden pretends to have like a modicum of moral decency, whereas when you own it in the way that Trump does, it just doesn't matter. There's a couple of... Okay, so the Dude's Rock angle I want to discuss with you is a logistical problem if they were to put him in prison, right? Which is that all presidents for life get Secret Service protection. So are you going to put like 20 Secret Service agents in a prison with Trump? Are they in suits? Do they have handguns?
Oh my God, they would run the prison.
Yeah, so what prison would take him?
The Bernie Madoff prison, wherever that is.
Top secret underground. It's like the seed bunker in Norway.
Epstein go?
To hell.
Well, before that though, when he was in jail.
And by the way, he went to hell because if you kill yourself, you go to hell. The interesting thing I've found with Trump is one of his greatest political tricks, which is he's established such a cult of personality that his followers interpret attacks on him as attacks on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the prosecutions were starting, his polling was going up and up and up and up and up because people viewed it as I will say thank you to Johnny Mercer for introducing vexatious to my vocabulary that I will deploy it here, that they viewed the prosecutions as vexatious.
Just like the prosecutions of Soldier F.
Yes, exactly. Fully vexatious, yeah, absolutely.
It was up the Irishman.
Is this because Sean's not here?
Yeah,
It's Dudes Rock. Laura and Ava aren't here. Sean's not here. It's just you and me.
So we're going to go full...
Bloody Sunday was justified. I don't think it was. I've made a piece about this in Derry. I don't think it was.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't.
Well, you laughed.
Because it was funny. Because
Right.
it was a funny joke. I'm not laughing. I wasn't laughing.
Well-
You don't laugh in agreement. That's not a sign of good point. Of course it wasn't justified.
What do you mean? The shooting of unarmed civilians by the British Army, the execution of British citizens by the British Army. What do you mean it wasn't justified? Oh fuck.
Yeah, that's the...
But this conviction now. I've seen a few different bits of polling. Some suggesting that about 6% of Republicans are going to abandon him now that he's been found guilty.
Mhm.
That's significant in a marginal election. And I think it's about 53% of Americans as a whole said they wouldn't vote for him if he was found guilty. So it could have serious electoral consequences, but who the fuck knows?
It could have, but also equally just as likely as it could not.
And that
is the level
that
of
is the
insight.
British politics undergrad level of insight.
Absolutely.
People subscribe to this podcast.
I actually studied American politics in America.
fucking get woo.
Absolutely.
Get you.
Do you know what? In America, when you study politics at university, you literally only do American politics. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I mean that's not a thing that's unique to their myopia.
No.
Believing that the world begins and ends at the edge of the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean.
But like, I picked these courses thinking, I don't know, didn't have a clue that they'd be solely focused on America, and did not learn a single thing that wasn't about.
What did they teach you?
What did they teach me? I learned who de Tocqueville was. That was good.
Yeah.
I learned about. I did a women in politics course because I'm a feminist, and it was the only one with any space left. I did that.
So
but
you took a place of a female student, didn't you, by doing that?
there was an extra one. It was actually after the ad drop period where you can choose courses. So that seat was open. So I actually enhanced it by being an ally and speaking over everybody. What she actually means is this.
You guys got this all wrong.
I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg's a bitch. Yeah, it was taught me how to shotgun a beer.
Legend.
That was sick.
Legend. We've been going for quite some time.
Yeah.
Should we draw a line under it?
Is there anything else in the doc that?
I think there's certainly some other stuff on the run. Labour's launching GB Energy today.
Do you want to talk about that?
I think we can save that for another day.
Okay.
We're coming up to it. We're coming up. We're doing about 45. About 45 at this moment in time.
45.
Yeah.
Do you want to slag off the BMA?
No.
No.
No. Look, I think calling that strike is a tactical error, but we can get into that another day.
What else is on it?
I like this. You just rattle off news stories, and I'll give like a one. I'll do like a one sentence.
Another defection to Labour. First of all, who?
Yeah. Who the fuck are you, Logan?
You don't have the balls to do it when you're actually an MP.
Yeah. I mean that's pathetic.
You're a coward.
Yeah.
You're weak.
Bitch boy.
You've actually done the easiest thing.
Also, like, I believe he doesn't want to stand in Bolton, but when he won it in 2019, I think that's the only time the constituency's ever been Tory, and his majority was like 400. So, I mean, yeah, get out.
Yeah.
I mean, your race is fucking run, pal.
Absolutely. Logan. Yeah, he's done.
He's done.
What else is in the news?
I don't know, Ed. I thought it was your job to fucking tell me as the presenter of a news-based podcast.
No, Laura's not here.
Yeah. What do we do?
This is showing Laura's like the meme is like soldiers like leaning over someone sleeping. That's Laura to us. That's Laura doing the hard graft.
She keeps us safe.
She absolutely does.
She's gonna have a fucking field day editing this. We're gonna take this up to her now.
And
She'll be at the desk. Drop it on there.
She's gonna be furious.
She's gonna listen and be like, "What the fuck have you done?"
I'd quite like to see a furious Laura.
She's usually she is a modicum of calm.
Oh yeah, no, very calm presence.
A moderating influence. A model of serenity.
We should push her and see what happens.
How so?
Just try and frustrate her.
Physical bullying?
No, don't say physical. Mental.
Psychological
Psychological, like really psychological damage.
How bad?
Like, I just want to see, just amp it up a little bit. Gaslighting is what I'm talking about.
Cool.
We should gaslight her.
Not full-on trauma yet.
No, not yet.
Coercive control?
Probably not that.
Yeah. Just gaslighting.
Just gaslighting.
Okay.
What do you think the Green Party policy on gaslighting is?
I'm not going to do any more jokes about how I've had my fill.
Do you think like the Norwegian Greens tried to make it mandatory in relationships?
I wonder what the French Greens' stance on incest is.
I think we can guess. I think we can guess, pal. More.
Beaucoup!
Oh, only 10% of people in France are victims of incest?
Cinnamon?
Those are baby numbers, mon ami. If you're not kissing your dad, then I don't want to know. Bisous, papa. Je t'aime, papa.
Oh, no.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi, papa? Bisous, grand-père. Do you think that's why they kiss each other all the time?
No. No.
No?
No. That could be where the stat comes from. Someone who didn't understand the cultural traditions of France was like, they're all fucking kissing. He just kissed his dad. Why are the brother and sister kissing? Fucking hell, 10% of this country.
Why is French kissing called French kissing?
Presumably because they were the first to fucking stick that tongue in there, yeah.
That's so interesting. That everyone else in human history was really reserved. And then all these freaks in France were licking each other's tongues.
Fucking God love them.
Absolutely.
God love the French.
Best thing France has ever done.
I like baguettes as well.
Baguettes are good. Baguettes are French kissing.
I need to think about that.
Drop a comment below which you prefer.
Is the baguette fresh out the oven?
Yes.
That's a very tough call.
I'm imagining.
How many words do you think you can write on that? Can you give me 10,000?
Yeah. I think imagining you, like, someone wondering why their partner has become really, like, chaste. And just, like, kind of just like a light kiss. They're not, like, maybe they're, like, their libido's gone, they're, like, struggling with their mental health. They're just eating a fresh baguette every day, and that's the price. Just a beautiful baguette beurre.
This fucking delicious French loaf. French loaf or French kissing? Let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. Tell you what, that's what they should be debating.
What if you don't have a tongue?
No French kissing.
Presumably no French bread either.
Why?
I imagine it's quite hard to eat without a tongue.
They've got teeth.
Yeah, but eating isn't just chewing, is it?
What does the tongue do?
You tell me what that thing do.
What that tongue do?
What that tongue do, boy? Get in there nice and deep like.
This is why microphones were invented. People.
But Ollie, there's a general election on, I hear you ask. You spent 10 minutes discussing beautifully freshly baked French loaves, and you only gave a sentence to the launch of Keir Starmer's GB energy policy. Listen,
pal.
we make the fucking rules around here.
We're doing one of these a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you better
Buckle the fuck up. Instead of saying buckle the fuck up, you could just say fuckle up.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Fuckle.
No, it sounds...
Fuckleberry Finn?
It sounds too much like suckle.
But suckling pigs are delicious.
Do you ever feel sorry for Shawnee listening to this?
Yeah. I do.
She's sitting with her head in her hands. I think because we can't see Shawnee.
Yeah.
Shawnee sits behind kind of a screen almost for some reason. I don't really know why.
Yeah.
But it's quite easy to forget it's not just us.
I think
we're taking up valuable time for Shawnee.
I think the thing is, whilst during the record, people will be like, well, you know, they're just riffing. They're trying to find something good. This is part of the creative process. But it's when she'll hear the edit and hear that most of this will be included. She'll be like, wow.
They really went.
They were serious about that stuff.
They went long. They went
committed to the bit.
Absolutely. Is that us?
I think it's us.
I think that's us.
Yeah.
Congrats.
French loaf or French kissing? Let us know.
Absolutely.
We're now pushing an hour, Ed.
How much of that has been kissing?
Not enough. Shut up and kiss me, Campbell.
And we've also cut out the bits where we've been kissing.
Yeah.
In between each topic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I get. But how can I fucking look at this man's eyes for an hour and not be
drawn in,
seduced?
Absolutely. There was sorry, I actually remember this. Someone showed me yesterday a street, like a vox pop someone was doing, and I don't know. It was at a Pride festival. I don't know whether this person was the interviewer's partner. I'd like to think so, but at the end, they just kissed.
With tongues?
No, it was like a mwah. He obviously was eating him a baguette because he made the decision. He made the call for him. But I was like, that's a very interesting way to do vox pops.
Well, we know where you got that fucking cold sore from, don't we?
I didn't know we were allowed to do that.
You all this time honing your vox pop craft. You were. How many fucking snogs would you have had? 500?
More than that, I think thousands.
No.
I think
thousands.
I think I've spoken to 1,000 people in vox popping. I've worked here for 3 years.
Okay, I'm a buy.
Yeah.
I'm a buy.
If you're one of the 1,000 people that I would have kissed in
Next
another
time
life.
Ed vox pops you are allowed to kiss him. You are allowed to kiss him.
I'm going to say you're not.
Your consent's irrelevant.
Okay. Not sure that. not sure that's right.
That's not how I work, and it's not how consent works either, Ollie.
In another life, I would have been happy doing vox pops with you.
Being passed around the populi like a piece of meat.
Absolutely. Street interviews.
Vox populi.
Okay, that's good. I think we're done. I think we've reached the bottom.
See you on the next one.
Like and subscribe.